trunks are all twisted round now. Some of them were feeding, some of them were still having a dust bath. I don't know what this Ellie is doing here, the one that's closest to her. She's having a love-hate relationship with this marula tree. She was using it as a scratching post, and then she wasn't happy with it a minute ago, but now she's okay with it again. Now, Dale, you're wondering if elephant calves are born with teeth. There we go, she's going up for another scratch again. I don't think so. I think it takes them a little while. I'm not sure exactly how many months before they start to get their teeth pushing through. Hello, girl. You're putting on a real act. I'd love it if you'd come and say hello to us. She's an interesting girl. She comes up to the car. Let's see. She's doing exactly what she's been doing the whole morning, going backwards and forwards, but like with her trunk on the ground, as if she's trying to not be so obvious that she's making a move. Oh no, loosening the soil again. Back to dust bathing. And I suppose having a dust bath when it is drizzling works quite well, because their skin has become nice and damp now. There we go. So that soil will stick to them. I don't have to go for a swim. Well, that's ideally the best way to get the sand to cover you. And now you can also see the different colors that elephants can go. There's a lot of people always say, you know, why is that elephant red, or why is it darker than normal? Here we go. It just depends on the soil that they're using to cover themselves with. I suppose it's like a different kind of foundation, isn't it? Depending on your skin tone. Well, the elephants don't mind. They just use whatever. And I quite like it when they use the soil with a sort of red tinge. The soils that tend to be oxidated, lots of iron. And makes for the most beautiful contrasting colors. And it just brings me back to one of my favorite images that Tristan managed to capture of an elephant that looked like it was on its way to war, with beautiful colors of red coming down. It was quite nice. Oh, look, there's a little one going to sleep there on the right. Yeah. An older calf just sat down. He's laying down. You can just see feet going everywhere. Going, I think I'm just going to have a little nap here. And you know, well, if Mom's going to dust bath, I'm going to get some of that dust too. So that all works out well. They all look exhausted. They kind of feel like sort of me today. I wish I could go and cuddle up with that elephant. I would happily scratch your back and tickle your ears if you promise that you'll get your mom not to squash me. Because I don't think she would take kindly to me trotting on over there and trying to cuddle with her youngster. Oh. Now, earlier, some of you thought that there was a snake that went across the road. It actually wasn't a snake, it was a stick. And it was this elephant cow that's digging just off to the left of us that was throwing things around. She also just threw another stick across the road that looked like a snake. And watch her, we'll see. There must be some bulbs and bits of roots that she's pulling out from the ground too. I don't know if she's eating them, though. I haven't heard any crunching. But if an elephant does find a little bulb of sorts, that's a nice tasty treat. I'll gobble it up fairly quickly. Now, something that we've been chatting about for most of the morning. Sorry, Emma, I think, but I'm quite happy to repeat it again. You were wondering, why does an elephant cover itself with dust? You said you couldn't think of anything worse. Well, we were talking about it earlier when we saw the tree. And when I got out the car and we're looking at all the mud on the tree, it sort of goes back to that. So essentially, a lot of different animals out here, not just elephants, will use dust to try and suffocate parasites. So it's not like they can just go to the vet, you know, and ask for some, you know, tick repellent or anything like that, a dip of sorts. They've got to find different ways to cope with the parasites every single day. And something that birds do particularly well. We see zebras rolling around, wildebeest rolling around in the dust too, and then of course elephants love to do it. Of course elephants are the only one that can pick it up and throw it over their entire bodies. So by doing that, it will help suffocate any little mites and things that might be living on them. So it's good to dust bathe. Very, very good. Helps with the smaller parasites. I mean, that dust is not necessarily going to suffocate a tick, but that's where the mud comes in handy. If you lather the mud on nice and thick, and then it will obviously, of course, prevent oxygen underneath it. I wouldn't like to be smothered in mud like that. It can't be a pleasant way to go, but also I don't feel sorry for the ticks. They are very invasive. Oh my goodness, right. Well, here's something that you don't see every day, because I don't know how technologically advanced Brent is, but apparently he's clicking and typing away. Perhaps he's banging it too. Let's see what he's found on the interweb.
Typing? No, I don't type. I hate other people to type for me. But no, I found you a very cool picture. So a lot of people don't realize how big Africa is. And I've had some people ask me over the years, "Oh, you're from South Africa. Do you know my friend who lives in Nigeria?" No, I don't. So to give you an idea, there's continental USA, mainland China, India, Eastern Europe, Germany, France, Spain, Portugal, Italy, and Great Britain, Japan, all fit into the African continent. So, yes, no, I don't know your friend who lives in Nigeria, which is quite unusual. Strangely, I normally do know someone somewhere throughout the African continent, I've been lucky enough to work all through southern, west, or not West Africa, but southern and central Africa. So there we go, just a nice little view there to show you how big Africa is. Now, yesterday, Tristan mentioned my favorite butterfly. So I thought, since we haven't seen that many butterflies this year, I would show you what my favorite butterfly looks like. That is the wandering donkey acrea butterfly. So a very, very, very cool butterfly. Now, because we're talking about acrea butterflies, I'm going to have to move. Now I'm going to have to move while ducking, because I think I've hit my head 4 times already since I've been here. So I got to duck. Let's move my chair, and let's go over here to the microscope. Let me just get this ready. And there we go. Now let's just do a bit of focus. Oh dear. Definitely not as adept as Jamesy at playing with the microscope. Okay, there we go. Now let's get some focus. Oh, there's something alive. Oh, wow. What? Let me just, sorry. Is that in focus, Dev? No. Suddenly, I didn't even know. Now, you got to realize how tiny that little insect is. Oh, that's not the best focus, but I'll try again now. There's actually 2 insects. Now, those things are minute. That actually looks like a little earwig. It is actually a little earwig, a tiny little earwig. What is going on here? I think it's earwig season. They both look like earwigs. Okay, wait, if they go to that side, there we go. It's walking into focus. It's being very kind to me. Now, is that a baby earwig? Oh, what happened, Dave? Oh, it's back. There we go. Look at that. Look how she's lifting up the animal. Because it's clear. Look, that's defensive posture. It's mimicking a scorpion. Isn't that incredible? So earwigs do that. They lift up the back of their abdomen to mimic a scorpion. But what I think, we've got an adult and a nymph. So the nymph is the clear one. The adult is the black one. Now, it is actually scary how tiny these things. These little insects here are smaller than a millimeter. Now, the reason I was actually looking at that flower is it's the Waltharia indica flower, which is the host species of the wandering donkey, where they lay their eggs. Now, just to give you an idea how small those insects are, they're in that flower. I mean, isn't that amazing? You can just see the black one. I can't even see the clear one at the moment. And that flower is, look, there's my thumb. Look how small that is. Isn't that amazing? So I'm going to put it back under the microscope now. I might have to. And then it's, oh dear. Oh, it's running away. Oh, there we go. But isn't that incredible? I mean, I did not even know the earwigs were there. I was putting the flower there so we could have a look at the flower, and just say that's the flower that the wandering donkey sequests the poison hydrogen cyanide from. Quite a few of the different acrea butterfly species will lay their eggs on it, and the larval stages will feed on that plant and sequester the poison. So you don't actually find that plant eaten by anything apart from insects. And all the other animals will try avoid eating it, obviously, because it is quite noxious. Amazing stuff. I still can't believe it. Well, I'm going to try and get the earwigs in focus again. While we do that, let's send you all the way back to Buffelshoek Dam with Tristan.
So we are just repositioning slightly just to try and get a better shot of the skittish male. We'll call him the skittish one for now. In the background there, he's been watching us like a hawk from behind these round leaf teaks, and has just been kind of having a little look and seeing what we're up to. And now it's kind of gotten a bit distracted by something else. So hopefully there's something walking towards the dam. It would be nice if a few waterbucks showed up, or maybe even a buffalo. Wouldn't that be epic? Because I believe these guys are buffalo slayers. According to those in the north, they say that these guys like to hunt buffaloes quite often. So it'd be interesting to know if they do, or what the story is, and it'll be interesting to see what their reactions are to buffalo if they did arrive. But no sign of anything that I can see. I'm looking behind where they kind of are, and there's really very little happening. Now, this guy's also still got his head up. He's still very blonde, but the other one has now gone down as well. He's also back to sleep again, so all we've got is a leg at the moment. So I think it's going to be like this. It's going to be a situation where these guys are going to be very, very sleepy over the course of the morning. I suppose it is bed weather after all, and I wouldn't be opposed to kind of just taking a nap and staying sort of dry, and I'm sure that's what these guys are trying to do and achieve for this morning. David, yes, I have sympathy for your thoughts, because rain does make a lot of people sleepy, and some of the animals, yes, you'll find that leopards, lions, the cats are not huge fans of it, so they'll try and find an area and they just kind of curl up and go and have a bit of a rest. Things like elephants, buffalo, rhinos, those kind of things, not so much. They use these conditions to try and feed a little bit more, and they'll kind of move around quite a bit, and they can get into areas that generally are quite hot and sunny during the course of the day. They can actually go and utilize. So they tend to move a little bit more, but you do find impalas and those kind of things sometimes just lying down in a big open space and having a bit of a rest and ruminating. So some of your ruminating animals will do that. Look at the size of those paws. They are absolutely massive. And it just goes to show you, so we talk about the tracks and how big tracks are. It goes to show you how much bigger the foot is than the actual track itself. If you look there at the pad, and you can actually see how much fur and meat and tendons and sinew and all kinds of other things are around those pads. So it just gives you an idea that even though they sometimes have big feet, the pad itself is not actually as big. Dale, you asking if it's normal for male lions to have such ginormous paws? Yes, it is. Funny enough, the Birminghams, one of them, if not two, have actually got quite small paws. They don't have very big paws at all. Their paws are quite small in comparison to the Matimbas. The Matimbas had massive, massive tracks, but most male lions have big feet. The thing is when they're younger like this, is that you tend to notice it more because they're still not quite in proportion just yet. They're still kind of growing into themselves, and so their feet almost appear a little bit larger. It's like when you see lion cubs, their feet always look very, very big and floppy because they haven't quite grown into it just yet. So we'll have a situation where they as they get a bit older, the paws kind of appear a little bit more in sync with them. But yes, lions do have absolutely massive paws. Now, I do see some impalas that have come down behind us, actually. They've just come towards the edge of the water, and so I wonder if these guys will take any notice. But I doubt that there'll be too much that will go on there. So, Kat, you're asking if size or age dictates the dominance when it comes to lions. So Seb's trying to see if he can get a view of these impalas for us between rain covers, poles, and all kinds of other things that Seb's dealing with. There they are there, two male impalas, young males, that are moving around. And so well done, Seb. Between all of that, you managed to find a gap. But it depends. Size is obviously a big thing out in the wild. Any animal that's got more size typically dominates a little bit more. Age brings experience, and so sometimes an animal that is maybe slightly smaller but is very experienced can keep others at bay, younger, bigger males at bay, because he's got experience and will know how to fight, know how to intimidate another male. So it just depends on the situation. I know that there was a male leopard on Mala Mala for a long period of time that was actually not a very big male, but he had a tenacious attitude and was very, very kind of aggressive in his approach. And he actually kept a lot of the bigger males at bay for a very long time. So it's not always about size, although size does help. Sometimes it's the age actually is a better thing, because age brings experience, like I say. And then attitude is a big part of it too. Some lions and leopards, or any sort of cats, can be a lot more aggressive than others, and that can mean that they can dominate a lot more than what some of the others can. So it's also attitude determines a little bit of what goes on out here in the long run too. But these boys, I don't think have even spotted these impalas or even know that those impalas are there. Maybe their one male saw them just now, but they seem as though they're all very sleepy at this stage. It's just the one that's got his head up. Sherry, no, males won't purposely travel so far to establish territory. Ideally, they would like a territory as close to the areas that they know. But the problem with that is that generally there's bigger males in those sections, because they would have, obviously bred with the mothers to form these cubs and for these young coalitions to form. And so, unfortunately, they get pushed out by those males, and then they go into the next territory, and that's another set of big males, and they get pushed there. And so it's basically why they move so far is because of other male lines. That's all it is that they probably ideally would like to be very close to where they were born, but because of others, they then get pushed along, and they have to find somewhere else to set up. Some males get lucky. I was referring to Hilda's rock males earlier. Those guys actually ended up taking over the exact same territory that their mothers occupied, which was a bit of a disaster, because they mated with their mothers and their sisters and formed cubs. But you have a situation where, these things happen from time to time. So a male lion will just take whichever area it can get as close to home as possible. But these guys, unfortunately, have obviously been pushed a little further afield, much like the Birminghams were. And so now they're down in the Sabi Sands, and whether they stay in the Sabi Sands remains to be seen. Like I say, if the Birminghams come, I still think these guys are a little bit small and young to be any competition to the Birminghams just yet. But 3 of them, if they catch one of the Birminghams on their own, is a very different story. You never know what can happen there. I mean, the Majingulans, when they came in and the Mapojos were still here, no one gave the Majingulans a moment of notice and thought that they would never be able to establish themselves. But they, as we know, and how the story played out, is that they were able to single out a Mapojo, and they managed to then, take over. So Birminghams do need to be a bit careful. They need to have a situation where they are, if they do come up here, it would be in a united front and not just be one male on its own. It's going to be really interesting, because the Birminghams are going to come back up here at some point. They're not going to just leave this area. It's not like they've been chased by these males, and so at some point they're going to wander back up here. And when they do, like I say, I'm pretty sure they're not going to be very happy to smell and see that there's been male lions hanging about for as long as these guys have. So I think we're going to have a situation where these guys might be in a bit of trouble then if there's more than 1 or 2 of the Birminghams here. If all 4 are up here, I think these guys might have to turn tail and run back north or east or wherever they might go. You might find they go west as well. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see the kind of developments. It's a time of uncertainty in our predator world at the moment. It's in terms of our lions, our leopards, and even our hyenas, which are kind of nowhere to be found at the moment. It seems as though it's all very uncertain. So we'll just have to see what happens. But we'll sit, I think maybe just a little bit longer, see if these impalas maybe move in this direction, see if maybe anything happens. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Taylor, who's still enjoying the company of those big giant pachyderms.
Oh, yes, I am. I am keeping a close eye on this elephant, though, because she's the one that caused all the nonsense a little bit earlier. Now, she hasn't shown any agitation signs with us at all, but I'm just going to keep an eye on her, I think, this morning. And she's come right over to us, though. We did move away a little bit, giving her some space because she wanted to dust bath here, so I don't want to feel like I'm sitting on top of her. And she's fine, though, for now. But she has given me a little bit of trust issues, just because of the way she kicked that little elephant. Imagine what she'd do to me. I'm not even as cute as a little elephant. And she's smelling us just to the side. She's being very subtle about her behavior. It's quite cool. Getting huge trunkfuls of sand. That's awesome. Goodness, I'm glad the wind is blowing in the direction that it is. Otherwise, Craig and I'd be covered in dust this morning. Now, you can easily see that she's a female. Look at that. Look at her head. square it is, flat. It's almost like there's a little bowl on top of her head. And that's filling up with all the sand in the world, whereas the boys have got those very, very, very round heads in comparison. And they're very nice. You can hear actually the sand and stuff when she throws it. Now, Trudy, you're wondering if the elephants can actually sleep standing up. Yeah, the answer to that is most certainly. That's actually how they rest most of the time, is they just have little siestas. Hey, big girl. And it looks like she might even be resting her back leg. And you see that, Craig? Her back right leg. There we go. See how it's all bulged up like that? She's resting it on something. There we go. So most certainly, it's just when you're a youngster that you typically will lay down. The adults, of course, can lay down too, but they don't normally stay down on the ground for too long. I mean, if it's a young calf, their legs get quite weary after wandering many, many miles a day. Like that one over there. Well, that's not a very young calf, but it has just taken this opportunity. It looks like Mom is sleeping too, just standing up. Look how she's just standing completely still. See that? Trunk's not doing anything. She's got that tree. It must be perfect there. She's not quite leaning up on the tree, but using it as shelter. And her eyes do look like they have closed. Like she keeps opening them, so she does this. So she has like these mini siestas. Let's see, maybe she'll go, I'm also just going to have a lay down. Who knows? We'll see what she does in a minute. But Tristan had a great sighting yesterday morning, in fact, of elephants all having a siesta, and it seems like they enjoy this mid-morning siesta. Remember, they carry on feeding right through the night, so even though they're most active during the day, at nighttime we don't necessarily see it all the time because we aren't out and about always after dark, but they carry on eating right through the night, so it doesn't stop at all. That's so cool. It's so close. I'm just hiding away. You big girl? Really digging a deep hole. Now, Amy, you're wondering, how is she throwing that dust on herself? Is she sucking it up and then sort of throwing it over herself, or is she just tucking it in between her trunk? I think if we watch carefully, it's a pity there's a few branches. You'll see that they almost hold their trunks in a cup and they sort of scoop it up. You see that? They do suck a small amount up, but I don't think it'll be too nice. But they are sort of in the sort of cup of their trunk, if you will. You'll see them. They do it and they scoop that up and then they throw that over them. A little bit will go up their trunk, but it's not like water. That's not what they're doing. They're actually throwing it over themselves. Looks like she's picked something up, like she's going to eat that. Or did you get a little bulb? Was that lovely? Was it like a little Ferrero Rocher? If elephants had chocolate out there, I reckon little bulbs and marula fruits would be the equivalent. She's not really loosening the soil too much anymore. I think she may have got to the point where she's finding some bulbs. And there's a bushman's grape growing there. I'm not sure what the roots of a bushman's grape looks like. I don't know if we'll be able to see them. No. But she's definitely getting something else now. And also still trying to loosen the soil at the same time. Very cool. Dirty feet, dirty head, dirty tusks and trunk. She's ready to go. Right, off you go back to Brent, who's nice and cozy, tucked away in his tent. Well, let's hope he doesn't bop his head on the lights.
Yes, that's why I'm sitting down. It's quite dangerous in this tent when you whack your head, unless you are James and Taylor's height. I think the rest of us do a lot of this while we're here. So we had a request about, so the Avoca males came from this area right here. So there's the Avoca farm. And there was a request about where the Birminghams came from. So if we go out a little bit more and a little bit further to the east, where's the main road now? Where's the open road? There it is. Okay, so that's where the Avocas come from. The Birminghams come from here, around the Timbavati River. So this is the Birmingham farm. So Sandringham ends there. So yeah, this is Birmingham here. So a little bit closer So as the crow flies, Avoca's 43 k's from where we are now. But the problem is that this whole area here, all the way to there, is fenced off. And if we go out, you'll see we're down here, right down here. So the straight line doesn't really work. The lines would have had to move through to the east and then down through the Manuletti to get to where we are. So here we've got lots of communities, lots of people living here. Lions occasionally do get into these areas and cause pandemonium, but not too often. So the lions would have had to move all the way to around here, where they will be able to cut down through the Manuletti to get to the Sabi Sands. So probably about 30 kilometers as the crow flies, where the Birmingham boys are from, as opposed to the Avocas. It's just over 40 kilometers as the crow flies. So it's very, very interesting, because a lot of the lions seem to come from the north and straight down here. Now, that's because, where's Orpin now? Let me just find it quickly. There's that Orpin. There we go, there's Orpin Gate, entrance to the Kruger. And there's a very important reason why they don't. So this Orpin area here has got an incredible density of lions. So as you move out from the broadleafed woodland, which we're in, which most of this area is, you get onto these basalt plains that run from Orpin through to Satara. And this area has, let me just go up, out. So all the way to the Lubombo Mountains. So here's the edge of the Lubombo Mountains here. And this area has got one of the highest densities of lions in the world. So there's many, many big prides. There's super prides even there with over 40 individuals. So if some of the males eventually do go east, but most of them will come down to the north, because if they head into that to the east straight into Kruger, they tend to hit a brick wall of male lions along the basalt plains. So the basalt plains are quite different bush-wise from what we see out here. Here we're on mostly granite soils, and so quite sandy. Let's have a look. Let's go over here quickly. So sandy, granite soils. So this is actually just basically broken down granite. You can see quite a lot of quartz in the sand, and the majority of these areas are made out of that. Now if you move on to the basalt plains, the soil becomes dark and far more clayey, and so let me say, it's made for short people, this place. I'm going to stand over here so I don't have to duck. So what happens is that, so you get onto those plains, you get quite a few of the same tree species, but in different demographics. Whereas here, the red bush willow is by far our most common tree. On the basalt plains, the most common tree is a knobthorn, but not the big knobthorns like we're used to seeing in the Sabi Sands. There are a lot of much smaller knobthorns, and they're quite interspersed. So there's a lot of grassland, big Thermida grasslands there. So a lot of the zebra and wildebeest now during the summer months, while those grasses are good, they move into the basalt plains, and that's why we don't see many zebra at this time of the year. Now, as they utilize that grazing and the winter comes, some of those zebra will move into the Sabi Sands and feed in between the bush willow and the thicker bush, where there's still grass left over during the winter months. Of course, some animals will stay there, but you find a much higher concentration of zebra and wildebeest on those basalt plains, and that's the reason, and massive herds of buffalo, and that's the reason why you've got such a high lion density there. So that area of the Kruger has a lion density that is comparable with the Masai Mara and with those super prides. So it is a very fascinating place, and I was lucky enough to live there for 2 years on the basalt plains, just below the Lubombo Mountains at Singita. Okay. Very good question from Susie. It says, how big a problem is the ratio of male lions to available territories? Now, Susie, nature sorts itself out. A lot of the male lions will actually get killed in their first sort of 5 years. So apart from the high mortality of cubs, when the lions move out at about 2.5, 3 years old and start setting out on their own, their mortality raises. The mortality rate comes up quite high again. So in that sort of vagrant wandering stage, and also the stage now where the Avocas are at that 5 years old, when they start trying to fight for territory, quite a few of them get killed in that area, and in that age group, which sort of evens it out. Now, the biggest problem, of course, is a lack of available land. In areas like this, it's not such a big problem, and generally, when a lion is spotted in a community area where lions haven't been seen in 100 years or so, it is one of these young dispersal males trying to escape from all the big males, and they're trying to look for an area where they can set up territory, or just to avoid the big males. There was much pandemonium in what's the name, Toyando, about 3 years ago. All of a sudden, a male lion turned up at 9 o'clock in the evening in the middle of town on the main street outside the shopping centre. He was only seen for a day, and he disappeared again. He probably moved north up into Zimbabwe. So there is movement of lions, and those young males are the ones that sort of pop up. It's very unlikely to find a lioness travelling well out of a protected area and into community areas and into towns, because they're quite stationary when their pride is settled, and so it's very unlikely to find a lioness out. So it's those young males that disperse. Now, one of the most interesting ones about a young male lion, which was a couple of years ago, was the first young male lion that was seen in Gabon in a very long time. So there was a young male lion that came from Congo, so very close to where Graham, Peter, and Jandra and I were a while ago, and that's probably where the lion came from. So actually, let me show you on. I love maps. Literally, maps are one of my favorite things in the world. Why are you not working? Technology doesn't like me. Wait, let's go. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay, I'm going to find the map to show you, and in the meantime, let's go have a look at those Avoca males who've travelled from the north.
Okay, we're going to go live now. So I was just quickly chatting to some of the guys that are in the area that are here. Perfect. No problem. So there's just some of the landowners that are here that are coming to see the males, and they were just having a chat to us quickly, and they were asking if they can just park a little bit further ahead and that they wouldn't spoil our view. So I said they're more than welcome, and there's no worries whatsoever. But our biggest of the three is looking as regal and as pretty as you could ever imagine. So we just were having a little look around, seeing if there was any more signs of impalas or anything like that. Doesn't seem like there is anything. But when we came back, all three of the boys had their heads up. And in fact, actually, one of them was making soft little contact calls, which is surprising to me because all three are here. So you would think that these three are used to being as three together. And he was kind of calling out as if to try and sort of contact one of the others, and I thought maybe it's because he can't actually see the third brother at the moment. Maybe he thinks the third one has moved off a little bit, and that's why he's contact calling. So it's this male here that has been letting out soft contact calls from time to time, and has been kind of just slowly but surely just kind of getting louder. And I wonder if he'd do a full-blooded roar. We haven't heard them roar, as far as I know. I mean, I don't know if Brent or Taylor or anybody's heard them actually roaring properly in any of the areas, but I certainly haven't, since I've been back, heard any lions roaring at full steam. So it'll be interesting to hear if they do start doing it. But you can see his ears are working overtime, so still just checking what's going on around him, and a little uneasy about where they are. So, David, as we've spoken about in the last few days, that these males have been brought here because they've been chased by other males. So they have been kicked out by bigger dominant males in the Timavati where they come from, and as they've then been pushed out, they've started to move following down into areas where they probably haven't heard many male lions, and then they've come across food, and that's then probably lured them in a certain direction. And there comes the other male now. He's walking closer towards this male, so you see he's coming through the bush there. I wonder if the little contact calls have made him come out and come towards this section, but there he goes. He's just going to stop and have a look. And this guy's got quite wild eyes. He's got a serious stare on him. Have a look at that. I think he's now seen that the other two are here, and he's just going to have a little lie down right over there. Okay, well, that's all right. It's quite scary looking fellas, actually. They've got very intense stares, these two particularly. They've got these kind of, like I said, darker eyes than what we see from the Birminghams, and when they look at you, they seem as there's a little fire in those eyes. Much like Hukamuri, actually. Lily, you're asking, will we ever be able to see these super brides that Brent is talking about? Probably not the exact prides that Brent is talking about. Not now. You never know where Safari Live's going to go in the future, and we might end up in those places. But those particular prides he's talking about, no. But that doesn't mean that we can't get super prides of our own here. It's not uncommon. In fact, the Nkuhuma pride, once upon a time, was 27 lions. So that is a seriously big pride. 27 is massive. And I know the Southern Pride has gone up into 23, 24 before, so it's very possible that we could get a pride of over 20 that comes into this area. If you take the Nkuhumas now, for example, there's going to be, hopefully, if these males stay away and don't really get hold of the sub-adults, we should theoretically have 10 adult females at some point. Now, if 10 adult females all have cubs at a similar time, you're going to have a situation where there could potentially be, if you average it out at 3 cubs per female, that's another 30 cubs on top of the 10 adults, which makes 40 lions. So it gives you an idea of how quickly prides can build to the super pride level. So, I mean, it's possible, but I doubt it. And the reason why we also battle with having really big prides here is that we just don't have enough food for massive prides. So when you're thinking of prides that are 30, 40 strong, they are requiring a serious amount of food a day, pretty much a buffalo a day, and we just don't have that many buffalo in this area at the moment to sustain that. Maybe if we get an influx of buffalo through this winter period, maybe you might see a situation where the prides can grow a little bit larger, but it's just not sustainable for long enough, and that's why the prides tend to split. And the perfect example of that is the Salala pride. The Salala pride is a pride at the moment that has, theoretically in that lineage, is over 40 lions. If you take that the Salalas have them, then there was the Salala breakaways, and then you had a situation where the Manganes, which are Salala offspring, they went and formed their own pride, and now there's this Mangane breakaways from their offspring as well. So theoretically, there's 4 different prides that have come from the same lineage, and if all 4 of those joined together, then you would have a situation where you'd have a pride of pretty much over 40 lions together, which would be absolutely insane, and they would form a massive super pride. But because they can't get enough food, and also because of changes in males and certain females mating with some males and other females mating with other males, they're splitting and they're forming these different groups together, and so that's why we're not seeing a situation where all these lions are staying in the same place. But it's very possible. I mean, super pride could develop here in the Sabi Sands, and we might be able to then see that. It's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. So we'll kind of hope that the Nkuhuma pride continues to grow, and you never know. Imagine if we get a 30 strong Nkuhuma pride. That would be quite scary. Well, if you're a buffalo, it would be very, very scary indeed. Right, well, our boys seem to be kind of relaxing. I thought maybe that one getting up and moving might trigger the others to move out of the wet grass and back into the open, but it seems as though they're still having a bit of a nap. And so while we kind of be patient with them, let's send you back across to Taylor and those playful Ellies.
Well, I think sleep seems to be the trend amongst not only the animals but also the people today. It's one of those days, miserable weather, all you want to do is just head back to bed and cuddle up, which we'll hopefully, we have a review today. Now, there's much dispute on the interweb at the moment about whether there was a snake that decided to fling itself into the air between the elephants, or whether it was a stick. So we have prepared a little clip for you. We have prepared a little clip, not prepped. However, we have had to put it into slow-mo, so there's not going to be any sound. So I'm going to sit quietly now. Nikki's going to play the slow-mo clip of the snake. There we go, everybody. There's the clip of the flying stick, as you can see once it's slowed down. In final control today, thank you very much. We've even have the stick. Here is the stick on the ground. We'll show you very quickly. There it is. It's a long stick. It's like an almost 2-meter long stick. So you could clearly see why it's a mamba. However, the fact is that it would be very, very stuck wedged between my camera, the steering wheel, and my chair. That would be a very brave snake to do that. Can you imagine how upset the elephants would have been if it was really a snake? My goodness, there would have been a lot more trumpeting, and they probably would have vacated the area fairly quickly. But look at the little elephant. Look at that. Craig, can you see that cow standing on top of the other elephant? Can you see that? Look at that. Now, that cow is being very gentle. You can see she's not actually squashing the little Ellie. She's just resting her leg onto it. Careful where you put your feet, Mom. That's so cool. Patrick's got a sense of humor today. He says that was an African timber rattler. It was indeed. It was indeed a rattler snake. A snake stick. But yes, someone obviously got upset and flung the stick. He was trying to use it as a weapon, as a sword perhaps. And then it fooled all of you. This is such a beautiful scene. It's pretty much exactly like Tristan's sighting that he had yesterday. And little ones fast asleep, creating a huge roadblock, which we don't mind, of course. We're quite happy. Just sitting in and amongst the elephants. Our big cow's finally moved off and she stopped causing havoc. What is wrong with me? Havoc amongst the other Ellies, and they can all just stand here peacefully now. And I can hear more elephants. One of our rain covers down. The rain has let up, but it was pelting down at one point, and Craig was getting so wet. Now, Anna Marie, you're wondering if I've ever been given a dust bath by an elephant. I have. I have been given a dust bath by an elephant, actually many times, in fact. And I've had a mud bath, courtesy of an elephant. I've been sprayed at with water by Daryl, my favorite elephant. And then most recently was the one in the Mara, where I actually took a video. And as I was taking a video, some of you may remember I was in the marsh, and there was this young Ellie cow. She's a teenager, and I always say to you how that's my favorite age, because they're so cheeky. And she was throwing bits of grass at me and trying to intimidate me, and we were just sitting there laughing at her, not giving her any reaction. And I think she ended up throwing a piece of mud at me, and I have it on video, funny enough. I'll see if I can find the video. It's on Instagram somewhere. I shall have a little look at some point, but it was quite cool. So yeah, they do it every now and then. Some Ellies, it's like an act for them, especially bulls, will just pick up things and throw things at you, and in an attempt to try and intimidate you. Right, somebody who's been in the bush for a lot longer than I have is Brent, so I bet he's got many tales to tell of elephants throwing mud at him and covering him in dust.
Thanks very much, Taylor. Yes, I have. I've been covered in dust, mud, and I've even been sprayed by with water by elephants at a waterhole. Quite a few times in my life. Now, just before, we were chatting about young male lions appearing out of nowhere. And lions were thought to be extinct in northern Congo, ROC, Republic of Congo. So, if we come have a look here, you can see these savannas before you hit the forest belt. So the last recorded lions was around there, Mboma, which is where the African Park's headquarters were, or is, at Odzala National Park. But somewhere on these savannas here, and so that's the boundary between Congo and Gabon, and you can see there's no people really in this area, there's no roads. So somewhere in these savannas there's a surviving pride of lions, because young male lions don't appear out of nowhere. And on Bateke Plateau National Park down here, Panthera caught lion on camera trap. So somewhere in these northern Congo savannas, there are some wild Central African lions surviving. No one is quite sure where. So it is very, very fascinating. I actually was quite tempted. Before I joined Safari Live, I was actually putting together a sort of let's go search for the lions of Congo mission. We were going to a possible documentary idea that we were toying around with, and I was working with some other people on, and to go spend a year up there trying to find out where those lions are. And I think we would have found them if we went up there. I definitely think so. No, so very, very interesting. That's probably the last surviving population of lions in the Congo, in the Central Africa. So the last lion in Gabon, apart from the one that was found a couple of years ago, was shot in the 1992. So inside Lambrane, which is actually quite a big town on the Goey River. Libreville. And where's the Ferdinand Baz? And there we go. So this is there's Lambrane there. So that's where the last lion was shot. And you can see these savannas extending right up into the heart of the forest. Now, where I lived when I was in Gabon, now, let's see, so there's Libreville. So this is the route we used to take. We used to drive like that, and then go down here, and then that's where the road becomes very, very, very bad. And then, so it's only about 400 k's, but it used to take us about 15 to 16 hours. And I should be able to show you where my old camp was. So there's the Ferdinand Vaz, there's Luongo National Park. So basically, to get our supplies, which was quite a feat. So a vehicle used to come from Libreville once a month with food and stuff for us, because you couldn't get it locally. And there's Iguela, so that's where that is actually incorrect. Iguela is not there. Iguela is actually there, that little village. So that's where the vehicle would stop, and then we would have to put all our supplies for the month on a boat, and you traveled all the way through here, all the way. And let's go out a bit, by boat, and that's the end of the lagoon. And then we went into the Iguela River system, which is over here, and this area is absolutely incredible during the dry season. So during the summer months, this is a complete lake. This becomes, all this light green stuff is absolutely underwater. So this is a dry season photograph, and during the dry season you can see 300 or 400 forest elephants from the boat as you go up. Okay. Now, well, there we go. Joy in Hong Kong's wondering, why are there no more lions? They were shot out by people, Joy. So that is the reason. And they were deemed a threat, and they were shot out eventually. Okay, so then you've got to be very careful, obviously. As I said, all the light green stuff becomes a lake during the wet season, and this is the junction of the two rivers. So you need to build your camp where it's dark green. So that was our camp there, right on top of this peninsula, and it was an old logging camp. So believe it or not, there was lemon trees left over from the 50s and 60s, and when there used to be logging in that area. And I even found an old bottle of Johnny Walker that said, it's still those old bottles when the glass had the writing on it. It was 1948, just an empty bottle in the forest. And also found a beer bottle from a beer that no longer exists, that used to be brewed in Congo Brazzaville, and that was 1951 on the bottle. So it was quite a bit of history in that area. So very, very interesting. So that's where our one camp was, and then our other camp was here. So we actually used to have to walk. There was no ways, no cars, no way to get there. So we used to carry all our food from there to there, which is about 17 kilometers. Through thick mud and forest and whatnot. But it was quite the adventure. We used to carry backpacks of 20 kgs with tinned food. I don't miss doing that, but I do miss the forest occasionally. Now, while I sit here and reminisce about my times in the Congo Basin rainforests, let's go back to Tristan with the Avocas.
I'm sorry, I have to sit here and just laugh at Brent Leo Smith, because he's lived such a hard life. I mean, he had to carry his food for 17 kilometers in the jungles of Africa. It's so tough to be Brent sometimes, and him showing all of you is always quite funny, because Seb and I have been laughing about this because we know all about these stories, and so now you all have to share in the same stories that we've all heard some time ago. Well, in fact, many times actually. But anyway, our lions are still sleeping. I think they're missing Brent and his stories. They were hoping that he was going to stick around so that they could hear more of Brent's stories that he was going to talk about. But since they've gone, they've now all fallen asleep and kind of taken it easy. So I think what we're going to do is move on. We're going to try and carry on and try and see if maybe there's something else around that could potentially be of interest. You never know. Maybe we'll even find Tandy and show Brent how it's done after 3 days of him looking. But these guys definitely are not going absolutely anywhere for now. There's a bit of rain that seems to be coming back in again. It was nice and dry for a while, but it seems as though that rain is starting up a little bit more. And so I think these guys will stay here, and then this evening will be a really good time to come to them. I'm pretty sure they're going to be up and moving, and I wonder if we might even hear a little vocalizing from them tonight. It'll be interesting to see. So, good. Well done, Brent, for finding the lions, though. I'm sure that you are very excited that you found them. They all seem to be very sleepy, so there's a bird of prey, actually, and a hippo, which was the hippo that came in earlier. Is that a brown snake eagle? It looks like a brown snake eagle. Sitting in the dead tree straight across from where we are is... Sorry, there's a roof and everything else that Seb's got to deal with, but yes, brown snake eagle by the looks of things. What is it? Is it the branches behind it? No, it's just its feathers being blown by the wind that are making it all a little bit all fluffed up. But very easy to tell this is a brown snake eagle. You've got those featherless legs, and then you've got that bright yellow eye and that big round robust head. Very typical of the snake eagles, and it kind of gives them away from quite a long distance anyway. So definitely brown snake eagle, and these guys spend a lot of time in these areas, and it looks like a fairly young bird. You can see a bit of white plumage on it as well, and that's maybe what's around its beak, is some of its molting is taking place, and it's getting its adult plumage and adult feathers that are coming through, and so a few of them might just be a little loose, and with the wind blowing, it's going to blow some of them out, and you're going to end up with a situation where it's going to look a little bit bedraggled for a few months until those kind of all settle down and it gets proper plumage, and the wind that's blowing is just kind of giving it a bit of a tough time. You can see a few white feathers in there as well, so not a adult just yet, but almost there, and I'm pretty sure it will be within the next couple of years we'll be breeding, hopefully, in these sections. So, Rabbi, you say you love eagles. I do too. They're amazing birds, absolutely fascinating creatures, and the way that they go about their business is pretty cool. And just seeing, massive birds like some of the raptors are, kind of flying around and defying gravity is always a very special thing. Now, apparently Nikki, who can probably see a lot better than I can, given that I've got a plastic cover over my monitor that I'm using, and the monitor is tiny, says that this bird looks like it's got some twine in its mouth. I hope not, Nikki. Let's see, I'm waiting for it to turn its head now, because I'm looking through the binoculars, which hopefully will give me an idea. There we go. I see what you're saying, Nikki. I wonder what that is. I have no idea what it is. It looks like there is something on its beak. You're right. I thought for a second it might have been feathers earlier, but I see it's kind of flopping in the wind even on the other side of its body as well. So I don't know if there's something in its mouth or caught on its mouth. I'm not sure. Let's have a look. It's quite difficult to see because even the camera's more powerful than my binoculars are going to be, and so I'm battling to kind of pick it up with the binoculars. I just see it dangling in the breeze, but I can't actually see what it is, and I don't think we're going to get any closer, so I'm going to go with maybe something. In fact, actually, you know what? I don't know if this is a brown snake eagle. It might be a black-chested snake eagle that I've just completely misidentified. Turn for me a little bit. Just when it flapped like that, it seemed to have a lot more white on it than I first thought. Birding in weather like this is so difficult because you can't see anything, but it might be a black-chested snake eagle. Hold on 2 seconds. I want to just quickly have a little consult. But it looks like it. It looks like a black-chested snake eagle. Okie dokie. Now, I'm going to just quickly double check a black-chested snake eagle in a sub-adult form on my app. And while I do that, let's send you across to Taylor, who seems to have lulled her elephants to sleep much like yesterday, and it seems that it's elephant slumber parties all around in the last few days.
They are such beautiful creatures, hey Tristan, and I'm going to be honest here, I'm having a hard time trying to stay awake with these elephants, because they're so peaceful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, all having a rest, standing as still as anything. Now, my favorite thing about this entire sighting is, in fact, this young cow, and it's her feet, because her feet are so covered in dust, it kind of looks like she's got a pair of slippers on with claws. You know those massive, big, oversized slippers that were a fad at one point, that had big claws and toes on the end of them? It looks like what she's put on her feet now. But of course it's not. That is the elephant's foot. Very, very peaceful. And that trunk just moving gently every now and then, swaying from side to side, occasionally picking up a bit more dust and throwing it up. Very cool. Look how hairy her trunk is. She's just resting it off to the side of her tusks, like what a big elephant bull does. It is so, so stunning. And then those very, very wary eyes. Almost impossible to keep them open. But a young girl in comparison to the other cows in this group. How stunning. Now, Jessica, you're wondering if the elephant cows ever get a bit moody when they're in season. I would imagine so. And I think maybe what would make them a bit moody is the fact that they're going to have a whole lot of elephant bulls tailing the breeding herds, trying to sniff her out and mate with her. That would be enough, I think, to drive anybody a little bit insane or a little bit upset. So in that retrospect, yes. I can't say for sure. I can't say I've ever noticed anything like that. I normally notice sort of moodiness and temper tantrums, like we were talking about it earlier, with the younger elephants, the cows that are sort of teenagers. They are definitely a bit more boisterous. They're the adults trying to prove a point. Think they know everything, like every teenager out there in the world does. I suppose it's the same with elephants. But with the adult cows, I can't say I've noticed. It's also hard to tell when they're in the estrus. Obviously, we don't have a Jacobson organ. We can't pick this up. Yes, they may secrete slightly from their temporal gland. But other than that, it would be very difficult to pinpoint. You'd have to just hope and see that there's a big Eddie bull following a particular female around. Then they can point you in the right direction. Oh, how beautiful. Isn't that just a lovely scene? Family portrait. Family nap portrait, in fact. And they might stay here for most of the morning. I think what we're going to do, though, is once we have a look at this little one, look at that little legs tucked underneath its body, eyes fast asleep. Robbie, you've asked if I've ever seen an elephant nod, or I suppose tip over from falling asleep. I haven't. I think before they get to that point, they might have a little lay down if they're that exhausted, but they do the sway. The classic elephant sway from one leg to the other, from back again, leaning forwards, leaning backwards. Oh, hello. Sometimes I think to these poor animals, my goodness, shame. Laughing fit, I'm sorry. I don't know why. I felt the need to. I'm sorry. I don't know why I did that sound effect. I don't know why I thought that was appropriate. Oh no. Great. Did you enjoy this? Nikki's just said to me now, she felt that elephant's pain. That's what it looks like. It looks like it doesn't always come out as easy as it should. Perhaps it's all the marulas they've been eating. Okay, I'm going to take this moment to leave the sighting. I feel like I've disturbed these elephants from my laughing fit. I also need to wipe the tears from my face. I'm so inappropriate sometimes. I'm sorry. Anyways, let's go across to Brent, who I'm sure is going to be judging me hard.
The youth of today. The youth of today. Tisk, tisk, Taylor. Anyway, so apparently you guys have been enjoying the mapping segment. So there was a question that came in about Hukamuri and where he's been spotted. So we're not actually 100% sure where Hukamuri's from. He's probably not from the Hukamuri drainage line that he's named after. I'll show you where that is as well, just in case. And this is from Monique. So he has been spotted at Crocodile Bridge, which is right on the south of Kruger. You can see that is the border of the Kruger, and then you've got lots of agricultural land on the other side of the Crocodile River. And now if we go, wrong way, we go out. So there's Crocodile Bridge. And he was also spotted in the Timbavati. I mean, wait, let's go out a bit more. So, I mean, look at that. That is a massive distance. Wait, I think you can measure. So if we go in here, so Crocodile Bridge is somewhere here. Where's it gone? I lose Crocodile Bridge. Dave, put it back. Where's it gone? And there's Mjejan. So it must be... Oh, goodness. Computer's being a bit slow, sorry. Wake up, computer. Wake up. Okay. No, there we go. Everything in a hurry. Must be a... Where's it gone? Oh, yeah, I've lost Crocodile Bridge. Wait a minute, it's around here. So I think you go like this. You can measure distance. Measure distance. There we go. And then we go out. Oh, the computer's being sleepy again. Oh, there we go. Whee! And we go all the way up here. I'm not sure where he was spotted in the Timbavati, so we'll just do that. It's 107 kilometers in a straight line, which obviously he didn't move. So, I mean, that's a long way. It's an incredibly long way in a straight line. Close that now. We've finished measuring. So there we go. And then obviously he's now around here. This computer takes a while. My brain works faster than it. I think it's a bit old. Okay, where is that? That's Buffelshoek Airstrip. So there we go. So he's now in pretty much. So this is Djuma here, and he is a lot in this area here. Yes, thank you, Bad Digger. It was to the right there somewhere, but there we go. So I said I was going to show you where the Hukamuri is. So let's go across. There's the Manyeleti River, and there's Rondarosi, and there's Ottawa there. So this is the Hukamuri. There we go. This is Hukamuri, the river here. One of my favorite little rivers in the whole of the Sabi Sands, the Hukamuri River. Oh, and actually, just while we're mapping in the Sabi Sands, so the Birmingham boys were spotted. So we're over here, just so you know, that's Djuma there, where the little arrow is there. And yesterday, the Birmingham boys were all the way down here. There, they were actually right here, near Sabi. So isn't that incredible? All the way down here. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. We've got a little bit of time. Let's go. I'm loving this new measure distance thing. So here's a straight line. Come on. Wee, flying back to Djuma. There's Manyeleti. Back across. There we go. To where the Avocas are, which is at Buffelshoek Djuma. It's 22.74 kilometers in a straight line. So there we go. So they're quite a long way away. Now, with the weather the way it's been and the wind whipping around, It's unlikely that the Birminghams would have heard the Avocas calling or even heard them fight with the Nkuhumas from that distance. So it'll be very interesting to see if they come further north. If they're around the Sand River, they're probably around 10 k's away, and they should start hearing the Avocas if they're vocalizing, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they react to that. Are they content with all the ladies in the center and the south, or are they going to rush back up to the top to defend the honor of the Nkuhumas? Of course, no honor defending, they're going to defend their own honor. Now, there's quite a lot of sub-adults in the Nkuhuma Pride, which means it's probably a bit of a testing time for the Nkuhumas, and they're going to be very, very stressed while these Avocas are around, because any female under 3 years old, they are likely to kill, and of course, that one young male as well. So, and as we know, when the Birminghams took over, in the females' acceptance and defense of the pride, sometimes the adult females get killed by the lions as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully they're a bit more busy come the Sunset Safari, and I'm sure one of us will be there keeping a close eye on those marauding male lions. But for now, from Dave and myself and the rest of the Safari Live team, I'm happy and dry in my tent, but I'll see you out there this afternoon.